Star Citizen drama is gone crazy viral. Everybody in the world now knows how bad the Star Citizen stream was, the SEL. I want to take a slightly different slant on this because I think amidst all the craziness, all the reaction videos, I have a slight concern about the individual people at the core of this storm. And I think as much as you might like or dislike certain people, ultimately they're people at the end of the day. And so I want to basically come at it from that angle. I'm a little bit worried that they're under a huge amount of pressure. But also, let's first of all start by just going through what's happened. If you've missed all this, we'll go through the timeline of what's happened and where we've got to. Here's the timeline. We started off with don't worry about the frogs. That was a separate thing. Don't worry about that. We started off with the actual live stream itself. Then it didn't go very well. Obviously, people were picking up on the fact that there was tension between the employees, the fact that the gameplay didn't look great, even though this was like a best case scenario. And then it obviously got reactions from all the Star Citizen creators. Morphologist did a big one that's got 170,000 views. Montoya did one. People reacted to all this. Detox did one. Space Tomato did one. And my reaction was on a podcast with Space Tomato. And what I'll say is my reaction with Space Tomato was basically like, I probably undercooked it. Maybe. I think this is where the frog thing comes in. I think potentially for some of us who have been here for quite a while, we've been in the pot and we have effectively, the temperature has been raising on how much we'll accept in this game. And effectively, I think the SE community and CIG themselves potentially needed the shock of outside voices reacting to this and basically saying what you're playing and what you're building is totally unacceptable. So my reaction was like, well, the game kind of plays like this, like there's often bugs and animation issues and all sorts of issues. And so I was like, I wasn't that shocked, I wasn't that shocked by what happened in some ways, but it has gone super viral. Not even just like, Morphologist has got 172,000 views on a video. It's gone crazy. It's gone big. So what happened next? Only a couple of days ago now. So this is actually quite a while after the actual initial stream. So Morphologist video was 12 days ago. We had this video from Kira, which has got now 500,000 views. The state of Star Citizen in 2026 is ridiculous. And so then his video, the day after, gets picked up by Moist Critical, Charlie. A lot of people will be aware of him. Big YouTuber, 18 million subscribers. His video has got 3.5 million views. Lots of people are saying, oh, it's bigger than the actual Squadron playthrough, which isn't technically true. We'll show you this. Hang on. There's the Squadron look, the official one, 1.7. Then there's the IGN 1.5. But then Havoc. Where's the Havoc one? Havoc basically cut it all together, and it cut the battle together, and he's got 7.2 million views. I don't know if he's making money off this. I don't know if you guys have seen this. So the actual coverage of the Squadron thing has got way more than this current thing. Anyway, that's a side point. Who cares about that? If we zoom in slightly here, my take on these two. So these are basically the big videos that started all this to go mega viral, because it wasn't mega viral at this point. It has now gone bigger. I would say there is a lot wrong with some of the takes in these videos. Some of it's misinformation, some of it is misreading stuff or reading really deeply. But ultimately, it doesn't actually matter, because the numbers that these videos are picking up, and the fact that Charlie, Moist Critical, is a very trusted internet source. Effectively, if he says some stuff that isn't quite right, nobody who watches his videos is really going to look into it or fact check or anything. And so they are now setting a huge narrative that on Star Citizen. But here I think is the key takeaway from their videos. They show honestly how an average gamer reacts to the state of Star Citizen right now. So back to the frogs. If we're all the frogs, we've been nicely boiled up to a nice temperature, we're cooking nicely, and we're like, oh, this feels fine. These guys, can I change? Let me change this frog. Let's give him a beard. We'll give this frog a green beard. Here we go. This is a new frog. the new frog gets dropped into the pot. So the temperature's been all nice hot. A new backer or a new player or a new person who watches these videos gets dropped into the state of Star Citizen, and they're like, "This is terrible. It's awful. Get me out. Get me out." Their reaction, the reaction that they have had to the state of the game, is totally valid. And if you're sitting there saying, "Well, they're missing this or they're missing that, or it's an alpha or whatever," the way that they react to the game is a legitimate reaction. Any game that plays as badly as Star Citizen does right now, any normal gamer would react in the same way. We put up with it maybe inside the community because we're like, yes, we see the vision. We know that the tech is amazing. We know that we can seamlessly travel everywhere, blah, blah, blah. But the average person will be like, this is disgraceful. It's disgraceful. That is effectively what's happened. And so the bonus of this massive viral sensation is that CIG, in theory, will have to face up to, whether they do, but they have to face up to the fact that the state of the game for an average gamer is nowhere near acceptable. The issue is that it goes bigger than here. So from here, whenever somebody on the internet makes a video as big as this, you can bet that the old gaming press, gaming journalists will whir into action. And this is exactly what happened. Whether they just they just pressed a button and said, AI, make me an article about Star Citizen. Whatever's happened, that's happened. So IGN, Kotaku, PC Gamer, I don't know whether I don't know that one, Games Radar, not just these guys. Would you be surprised? Somebody joked about it earlier on the stream. Would you be surprised if we get a BBC article about this at some point? It's gone bigger and bigger and bigger. And so this whole thing basically then keeps going. It keeps going, and it will keep going for probably a while now. You're now getting people reacting to, as well as news articles, you're getting people, other YouTubers making other videos, basically piggybacking off Moist Critical's video. And so you're going to get loads of these. You got Kira making another video this about Star Citizen situation goes viral, and effectively they're farming views off what is now a hot topic. It's a hot topic. The flames are like that. The flames are flaming. It's a hot topic. If you're the sort of YouTuber who makes content based on like gaming news, this is it. This is now the topic of the next few days, at least. So Luke Stevens has also jumped in on this. He's made a video. Everybody will have done. And then the cycle goes even further. Back to the Star Citizen YouTubers. The Star Citizen YouTubers and creators make reactions to the reactions of the reactions. It's Inception. So Montoya has made one. Salty Mike did one for the Charlie one, as did Space Tomato. Everybody jumps back in, and the crescendo. There you go, nice music term. That I don't know which way around it is for music. You can read music. We are going up and up and up in terms of the noise, as well as all of that. It now becomes fully like meme worthy. So you get some fun memes like this is a good one. I appreciate this. Is a chucking the guy out the window is a good one. We'll appreciate the meme. But it becomes even bigger that this screen grab has now turned into a meme being used outside of the Star Citizen community. This was in the comment section of GTA leaks. Sir, another leak has hit the internet. Rockstar is under attack. And so Ollie and Jared potentially are going to turn into an actual properly viral meme. They're in the middle of a crazy storm. The whole situation is nuts, considering what they actually probably thought it was going to happen at the start. They thought, we'll just do a playthrough of the game. We'll show you what we think was going to happen once this goes live. And it's turned into a crazy situation. Crazy situation. Okay, so Ollie and Jared becoming a meme would be hilarious on one level. However, here's where I'm gonna take a different tact. Everybody so far basically is kind of just getting their punches in on them. A lot of you are going to hate this viewpoint or not going to agree with this. You're going to be like, it's their lives. They've made decisions to get to this point. They didn't sign up for this. They didn't sign up for this. When they did this live stream, they did not sign up for this at all. This was not what they intended. in any sense. This isn't what, when they turned up at work that day, they had no idea this was going to happen. And so if you don't have any compassion for the fact that these guys are like now fully kind of negatively famous, like millions of people are talking about them, making videos, watching, commenting on videos, people who have no idea about Star Citizen, they're famous in a way that none of us will ever experience, likely. That is not at all what they signed up for. And so my concern is at the human level, is like, I hope they're okay. Genuinely, I hope they're doing okay. I know some of you don't care. I don't think that's the right way to approach this. I think you have to have a level of care that as a fellow human being, forget the fact they're an employee of CIG, whatever. You have to, I think, show a level of care that they're people and they have to go home to families, and they'll be under a huge amount of like stress right now, hugely stressed. Let's just go through this because individually there's different stories here. So Max, I'm sure, is fine. If we're gonna look at these individuals, I'm sure he has, as in he didn't come off particularly badly. He was just playing the game fine. Luke also, I think, came across quite well. They're fine. They're not under like, nobody's like looking at those two. They're not getting hammered. They hopefully are sleeping perfectly fine at night. Let's talk about Elliot. I think what he did in this stream, some people didn't like at all. I think there's a huge amount of it which is just sense of humor. Some people found his humor distasteful. As a fellow Brit, I thought he wasn't doing anything like that I would be hugely offended by. I think some people were reading into some of like the barbs that he was throwing around and saying, oh, he hates everybody. That isn't what I read at all. Not at all. I thought it was just banter. You might argue that on a live stream, he needs to be more professional. Again, like I said before, there's a case to say, if you're going to bring somebody like Elliot on the stream, it's down to the person who's responsible, which is Jared, to say, either be yourself or either tone it down. And I don't think you blame Elliot for, somebody said earlier about like, oh, should he have read the room a bit better or just, I don't know if that's his responsibility. I thought he was, some of it's like, you might argue is distasteful, teabagging people, whatever. That's just a question of sense of humor. I think ultimately, I didn't read from it that he hates Ollie and was trying to ruin Ollie's experience. I personally would read it as he was trying probably his best to improve the quality of the stream and the funniness of the stream by making jokes and reducing the tension maybe and bringing some levity. Maybe that was what he was going for. I totally didn't read it that he was trying to sabotage. That would be my take. Don't know, but read the room. I think Elliot could have done better with that, but yeah, maybe he could have read the room, but you got to remember that these guys weren't watching themselves, if that makes any sense. As in, they were just in a room playing the game. They weren't like constantly reading Twitch chat at the same time. They weren't able to see what it looked like. They had no ability to step back and say, oh, I wonder how this looks like, what this looks like. I wonder if I'm coming across well. They're basically just sitting there playing the game, firing off at each other, trying their best to make this work, is my guess on it. And it's hard. I think I would say it would be hard in that situation to know how you're coming across. I think he's not like a professional streamer. He doesn't go on camera all the time. To go live and self-edit yourself, which is effectively what we're kind of talking about, like to edit yourself on the fly as you're going, is really tough. He might have been able to he might now look back at it and be like, oh, I wish I hadn't done that, or maybe I shouldn't have done that. But to do it on the spot as they're playing the game, to be like, maybe that joke didn't quite work. A really hard thing to do. Really hard thing to do. I personally hope that Elliot is okay he's getting some proper heat. Again, on the individual level, whether you like him or not, I hope that he is brushing this off as like, whatever. Like maybe I'd change some slight things. I hope he can see it as a learning experience rather than feeling the proper heat of millions of people looking at him thinking he hates Ollie and he's trying to ruin his job, which I just don't think is what was going on. Let's talk about Ollie. So Ollie had only just joined the company a month before. some of you in the chat are saying, "Oh, it's all Ollie." I mean, you're not quite saying this, but you're kind of insinuating that Ollie is to blame for this. I would go as far as saying, how extreme do I want to be here? Is Ollie to blame for anything in this stream? Is that too much strong of a statement? You might say, well, he was a bit nervous or whatever, or maybe he didn't handle certain things very well, or maybe because it's his idea, the stream, bollocks things, that that he has some responsibility. But ultimately, this is his first thing that he's done for the company. If you say you are in your job and somebody new joins the company and you just like chuck them in the deep end and then basically say, good luck, you're on your own, which is effectively what happened at the end. Would you blame that employee? Would you blame somebody new to the company? The problem is Ollie probably comes out of this with the most heat on him. The memes are all got, like you say, the memes have got his face on them. He's getting exposed. He obviously is a big YouTuber. He's got like millions of subscribers and multiple hundreds of millions of views. But I would guess he's never come under this much heat ever in his life on YouTube at all. He obviously had a bit of drama when he joined the company because there was a whole like the grey market stuff. So he basically was previously a grey market advertiser for selling ships, which doesn't really work. CIG don't want that. And then he also had a bit of drama when he put a tweet up saying I'm really loving flying to work, and everyone was like, oh, he's spending all our money on flights to CIG. Like there was a ton of drama around that, but that was all drama again on the scale of YouTube, Reddit, Star Citizen, YouTube, Reddit, and Spectrum. It was contained drama. It was nothing on the scale that we're seeing now, where there's articles being written about him. There's massive videos of views all about him. The level of exposure he's got from this is crazy. And again, I'll go back to the title thing. Negative viral fame is not easy. And so again, on a human level, I think whether you don't like Ollie or you do like Ollie, maybe you loved his streams, you loved him. I think whatever you feel about him, you should be not concerned. Concerns, I'm sure he's doing fine, but there's a level you should have empathy for the fact that the situation he's in is not good, and that he probably, even like being in the office, like being around other people, like there will be some, like imagine Elliot walks up to me, is like, oh, have you seen your meme photo? Well, that's a joke, obviously, but as in there'll be some banter around the office around the fact that he's a viral sensation. There will be a level of uncomfortableness, I think, with this. I if it was me, I'd be super stressed. I'd be like, this is awful. Like I'm like the butt of everybody's jokes. I'm super, maybe it will die down, but right now I'm famous, internet famous, for something that went really badly wrong, and I look silly. Like that's a really hard position to be in. Again, if you care about him or not, it doesn't matter. On a human level, he's a person, he's got family, he's got kids. I hope, here's my hope for Ollie. My hope is that CIG are looking after him. The people who are above him, including Jared, are saying, do you know what? That wasn't your fault. That was a tough situation. It maybe didn't go quite well, but you were not to blame for that. And we've got your back. We're not gonna just sack you like some people have suggested earlier. You're not gonna just get binned off instantly. And if you need some support, like if you say, because honestly, obviously we know in the world now, mental health stuff and everything, they should be offering some support to him. If he genuinely, off the back of this, needs some support, CIG should be offering that to him. They should care as a company about his well-being. And this is a super crazy situation that, again, none of us will ever experience. And so my hope for all of these guys, really, including Jared as well, but maybe more so for Ollie because of how it's panned out. My hope is that he is looked after by CIG and they don't just discard him. I don't mean that they're just sacking, but they do need to look after. I think they do need to look after him in this situation and back him up and be like, you're okay. That wasn't your fault, and we'll just keep going. We're going to just keep going. Some of you will be like, "Nah, you're being too soft." They go there, they take a paycheck or whatever, and yeah. So Clifton said snowflakes. Exactly. There'll be some who are just like, nah. I personally think we should separate the calamity of the stream and maybe the calamity of the game from the individuals, and we should show a level of care to individual people. It would be my thing. Man, you're coping too hard. CIG treats us like trash and they treat each other like trash. What world are you living in, £10? I'm living in a world where there's a little bit of, I'm looking for a kinder world. I'm trying to be, I think a level of kindness doesn't hurt anybody. Humanity, yes. Compassion and humanity. That's what I'm going for. Hope. All of those words. Yes. It'll be forgotten soon enough. I don't know. I don't know on this one. Normally I'd say, the Star Citizen drama cycle just goes up and down, up and down, up and down. I fear the repercussions of this, because it goes so wide with the Moist Critical video. They've damaged a already damaged reputation in this case. What's happened here has it's like somebody's taken a sledgehammer to an already fragile statue, and they've like landed a massive blow. This is a giant blow to the reputation of Star Citizen, and the reputation was already in the floor. With everybody else thought it was a scam. Now maybe people don't think it's a scam. Maybe now they just think it's a terrible, terrible example of a game. It will blow over for us inside the community because Planet Tech V5 will come out. But for people who potentially would have bought the game, maybe tried out the game in a few years' time, some people who've seen these videos are now much less likely to even consider giving it a go. Genuinely. Like, if you're sitting there saying, it's not that big a deal, the scale of this, the scale of how wide this has gone is a problem. And we'll talk about Jared in a second. I effectively think that this means this will never happen again. I don't think this will ever happen again. They'll never do a stream like this again, would be my take. It's gone so badly wrong on such a scale that they'll never do this again. I personally came out of this thinking they should give this another go. I'm almost certain that there's no way they'll risk this level of virality, negative virality again. They need to stream. I would agree personally. I think for inside the community, this is a valuable format. However, if every time they do this and they show off the game, somebody goes again, Star Citizen streamed again and it was still terrible, and this whole drama cycle flies up again, I don't see that CIG's leadership are going to take this risk ever again. Let's talk about Jared. Jared also is under quite a lot of pressure from this and heat. So he basically has been in these videos, all the reactions, everything here, this classic wrap it up bit that happens at the end that's being picked up and has turned somewhat. It's on every single thumbnail, wrap it up. It's turned into a meme format, like everything. People are reading into it that he's like a toxic boss. He hates Ollie. He's thrown Ollie under the bus, all these sorts of phrases. And I think if I was Jared or I was Ollie, I would not have wanted Jared to handle it like that. It didn't come across very well. He looks like he has just chucked Ollie to the wolves. Whether that was his intent or not, we don't know. How can we possibly know? Whether he personally was like, I didn't want this to happen. This show is a bad idea from the first place. Maybe Jared's been doing this for a while. So maybe he, as it was going on for the 2 hours or whatever, maybe he was like, I can tell that this is going really badly. I can tell by the Twitch chat, which is just like streaming down all sorts of craziness whilst they're doing this. Maybe he knows this is going badly. And so maybe it gets to the end of the stream and he's just like, we shouldn't have done this. This was your idea. Wrap it up. That's what people are reading into this. And yeah, somebody said disgraceful behavior from a senior. The idea is that this is all Jared's responsibility. He is in charge of everything here. And so he, in theory, it's his job to shield the other guys from the sort of heat that maybe has happened here. That if you've worked in a company where, everybody's worked in a company, but when you are more senior, if something is your responsibility, the buck stops in this case with Jared, regardless of whether it's Ollie's show or whatever, it stops with Jared. Again, though, I'll say the same thing that I said about Ollie. You might think that was really badly handled, really poorly handled or whatever. He's still a person. He still has feelings, and he still now is having to deal with being a viral sensation for being a toxic boss. And so that's not much fun. And I bet every day he's waking up thinking, somebody said that he's been away getting married in Vegas or something. I don't know where they got getting that or whatever. What an absolute terrible time for all this to happen. If that genuinely was what's happening, he genuinely got married. If you don't have compassion for the guy that he's going to get married and he going to do something really amazing in his life, obviously a big celebration of a relationship, whatever, getting married. If you're sitting there thinking, if you're not sitting there thinking, what a shame that this happened at the same time. I don't know. I feel compassion for him as a person, as an individual who, again, maybe he's made a mistake in this case. And I think ultimately I would say he didn't handle that the way I would want him to handle that. He might look back at this and be like, I didn't do that right. But for this all to like blow up in the way that it has is such bad timing if he literally is on his honeymoon. And like, hopefully he's just turned off his phone and whatever and can just completely stay out of this. But it's really hard to stay completely off the internet. And I hope, again, in the same way that I'm saying to Ollie, hopefully he's getting some support around this. I hope on an individual level that CIG are giving him support. My point basically is here, they're people. I hope they're okay. And we should want them to be okay. We should want the best for them as individual people on a human level. We have no insight really into how any of this will pan out. We have no insight into how they actually feel about each other. They might really get on. I'm assuming Jared is heavily involved in the hiring process of Ollie. And so I assume Jared doesn't hate Ollie. Surely. I think that again, people are like, well, he clearly hates him. You speak to him like that, you clearly hate him. I'm sure that isn't what was going on. Well, I say sure. I don't think that's what's going on. There's so much speculation. And I just think on an individual level, I feel for all of it. I mean, Max and Luke, again, have come out of this pretty free, haven't they? They've not taken any heat. The other three, though, are getting slammed repeatedly all over the internet. And that's not easy. So that's basically the summary of that. I care about the individual people, and I think everybody should have some level of like heart or some level of care that as individuals, this will be not a great experience.